Welcome to the LynnCAM TV Show, a program which focuses on local organizations, municipalities, nonprofits, and issues affecting the city of Lynn. Here with me today to talk about the Lynn Historical Commission, we have Carl Greenler, the chairman, and we have Cal Anderson, who is one of 6 commissioners right now. There are 7 seats, though. Anyway, let's get into the program. The Historical Commission, before we get too much into the organization, I want to talk a little bit about you gentlemen and how you're involved. Carl, we'll start with you.
I am a buff of history, and my aunt was involved in the old commission back in the 70s. And when it was reconstituted, she called me up and asked if I was interested. And I said yes. I've been involved ever since. And about 10 years ago, after several chairmen had come and gone, I became the chairman, and I've stayed ever since.
All right.
That's how I got in.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Cal?
Well, I moved to Lynn about 14 years ago. And right from the beginning, I began to carve out niches with a volunteer group, a beautification group that I founded called the Gateway Project for Lynn. And our whole credo was beauty from ruins. So we went around establishing and finding places in Lynn that had some core architectural gems, but maybe were neglected. So we started melding those together and coming up with pocket parks. And we led into advising people on some of their other aesthetic decisions when they're doing some renovations, et cetera. And this type of activism caught the attention of 2 mayors, and they appointed me to this commission as a result.
All right, so it's worked out for you since then. Now, Carl, you've got an in-depth understanding about the commission, what it is. Let's talk about its mission and what you guys seek out to do.
Okay. Our mission is to preserve and protect historical buildings, structures, various sites, including open spaces within the city of Lynn, in order to preserve its character. And we take our marching orders, if you will, from the Mass Historical Commission. They actually have a book with rules and regulations, if you will, and things that we should do. And then we get involved with various projects, and especially with the community development. We do quite a lot of work with them.
Yeah.
Because any grant that the Lynn City goes for in terms of preservation, such as currently High Rock, that they've been working on for a while, as well as the GAR is an ongoing project, the GAR building. They require a letter from the Lynn Historical Commission approving of their project, and they have to include that with their paperwork that goes to Mass Historical in order to get that 50-50 matching grant. So that's one of the biggest things that we do.
Wow. So history preservation, obviously, huge part of it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know this may seem a little redundant for our viewership at home, but ironically enough, there is a history to the Historical Commission. Let's talk about the history of the organization and how it came into play and any significant things that have happened down the timeline.
Okay, it started in the late 60s when Congress created the National Park Service, and the state historical preservation commissions were created as the state adjuncts to the National Park Service for the purposes of preservation. And the municipalities were then allowed to sign on. They had to create their own commissions, and they did so in their own good time. Lynn's was established in the early 70s and died out in the late 70s, I think due to budget concerns, and it just didn't happen for a while. And then in about 1986, Al DiVigilio, Sr., who was mayor at the time, decided to reconstitute the commission. And my aunt, who had been on the old commission, came back on, and I was invited by her to join a committee, and out of that committee, the new commission was born. So I've been on it ever since. So that's in a nutshell, the commission's history, and the National Park Service sets the standards. So.
Interesting stuff, definitely. I mean, for what you guys do, it's huge. Community's huge. I mean,
yes.
Like you can't just do it with the Historical Commission. You need involvement from community development. You need involvement from the people, the citizens. It's a collective effort here. And you know, community only goes as far as people want to involve themselves. And I just want to commend you guys for doing what you do. You give up your free time. It's not like you're earning paychecks for this. This is something that you do because you love Lynn and you love history. It's always interesting to me to learn about organizations and what they do, but even more so to our viewership, it's interesting to them to hear about some of your recent work. What can you tell us about, maybe you can reference some of what you have been working on that we've seen in the city of Lynn.
Our most recent project that we just completed was placing the Pine Grove Cemetery on the National Register. That was a massive job, and out of that work we actually created, or one of our commissioners, Julia Green, has created a Friends of the Pine Grove Cemetery. And we're going to use that as a vehicle to go for grants and private money to restore the Rhodes Memorial Chapel. That's going to be our next project.
And that's in Pine
That is
Hill
in Pine Grove Cemetery, yes.
Okay.
There are quite a number of structures in there that are considered historic in their own right, including the Keeper's house that was placed on the National Register back in the early 90s. And then upcoming is going to be the Washington Square Historic District. We're going to work on that pretty soon. We've done quite a number of historical districts. We've got 5 currently. Washington Square will be number 6. We've got a couple of others that are sort of in our heads.
The Historical Commission definitely has, well, the Historical Commission has a to-do list, and it's pretty extensive. So for our viewership at home, if this is something that interests you, you should definitely check it out, contact these guys. Now, Cal, you had some interesting stuff to talk about with Pine Hill and the cemetery. Yesterday, you came in before the program so we could discuss the commission and what it is. Anything to add to some of the recent work that we've seen?
Well, we treat this as a community service. You know, our Mayor Kennedy calls us one of the most active bodies of our sort that she's ever seen, mainly because we don't just sit back waiting for mail to come to us, asking us to approve a cell tower in a quasi-historical place or whatever. We go out in the community and we look for things like this. So the cemeteries in general, and specifically by the very nature and the extent of Pine Grove Cemetery, just begged to be put on the National Register.
Right.
So our newer commissioner a couple of years ago, this just proves we're a hands-on body. So anybody entertaining coming on, hopefully understand if you come up with an idea on a project, you can pretty much run with it with the support of the commission. Well, Julia Green came in and she had this to-do list. She incorporated, scores of people to get this done, and got it done, I guess, ahead of time. So now it's an official part of the historical fabric of the United States, designated historical space. So within the cemetery is the Rhodes Chapel. And a lot of people in Lynn probably never remember it when it didn't have the wood protecting.
I don't. We talked about that before the program.
Yeah, we're kind of thinking, estimating there must be at least 30 years, just judging forensically from the age of the wood. Well, there was a time when, of course, municipal funds started to shrink. One of the easiest things to do, and you see this all over in a lot of other municipalities and towns, the traditional non-denominational chapel in the cemetery was closed. The good thing is they did put up the ugly boards, but they tended to do its job because there are no there's very few breaks in the glass. And I think we got some pictures to show of the one time a couple of years ago when we pulled some boards off to let natural light for the first time in maybe a generation illuminate the inside of that chapel.
That must have been cool.
Well, it was, because it was like unwrapping a time capsule.
It's like Indiana Jones stuff right there.
Well, this was just one sampling that one of the stained glass artisans who offered to do some quotes on it pulled off. And one by one, everybody that was there came in, and I could hear everybody emoting in some way. There was gasps, there were little noises. There was a walking senior citizen couple walking by who came in, and we were talking about the vision of getting the chapel back into doing community support and maybe interment ceremonies and maybe even wedding ceremonies. The woman took her husband's hand in hers and said, "Honey, maybe we should renew our vows here." And that is exactly the vision of the type of thing we want to do. Take the good parts of our city before they're lost and torn down and use them for the new generations.
Cal, you psych me up, man, because like you really do. And like when it comes down to like community, like you're a great example. Calvin Anderson, not only is a commissioner on the Historic Commission, but he's a member here at LynnCAM TV. And I had the pleasure of instructing you through class. And this man is full of ideas. He's full of a lot of tenacity, and he wants to get things done. So if you ever see Cal on the street, it wouldn't be out of order to thank him for what he does. So just kind of wanted to point that out.
Thanks, Sean, and you're a good teacher. And I encourage anybody else to come down and become a member, because this could be your show. I'm telling you.
There you go. Yeah, we're here.
This is community access television.
Right. We enable members of the community to exercise their First Amendment rights via broadcast media. Back to the commission. Now, it's important for us to recognize that Lynn not only has the right, but a responsibility to history preservation. 1629, we were incorporated. We were settled before then. The Declaration of Independence wasn't even a thought at this point. In fact, the people who were involved in writing it weren't even born yet. I mean, that's some interesting stuff to talk about. I'm a big advocate of like time and recorded history, but when push comes to shove, Lynn's one of the oldest towns in the country. So what you guys do not only is important, but it's imperative, like in regards to preserving not only Lynn history, but American history. So there is another organization out there that's dedicated to history in Lynn. Your organization is called the Lynn Historical Commission. Their organization is called the Lynn Historical Society. For our viewership at home, let's clear that up. What's the difference between the two?
The commission is a municipal body. We are appointed by the mayor, and we serve at the mayor's discretion. The Historical Society and Museum is a private organization. It is a dues-supported organization, and that is the primary difference. We support existing structures and houses for historic preservation in situ, if you will. The museum is more dedicated to placing smaller items within the museum and creating exhibits that pertain to the city of Lynn.
They do a good job. Any collaborations happen between the two?
Oh, there has to
All the
be.
time.
There always
All the time.
One of our commissioners, Kathy Wren, works
Yep.
for the museum
Yeah,
and
she's
the
one of
society.
Yeah, she's
All
one of
right.
the directors of the museum. A lot of our historical research would have to be done there because they have much of the information that we require if we were to do any research on all these old properties. They've got the photographs, they've got some of these old deeds, old city records. So we go back and forth
Yeah.
quite a lot.
One of the things that that I kind of just want to point out, our director who is switching to us in our footage, Dave Riley, he was a producer, director, videographer, editor, all that
And
stuff.
award-winning
Producer for Historic Lynn, which is a television show that we produce here at LynnCAM TV. So in watching that, at first you're like, oh, this is neat, it's history. But what really grabbed my attention was Dave's passion for this. So it's easy to see him fitting in there with what you guys do. We got along very well with the society, Historical Society, reaching out to them for pictures, interviews. They were very helpful. It's a great organization as well. So it's good that you guys collaborate. Even sometimes Dave and I will go down there, we'll do our Christmas shopping at the Lynn Historical Museum. So, but it's just gifts for us because nobody likes Lynn as much as us. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not true.
There's some good educational books there about the Lynn fires and a lot of other things.
You know what I really find interesting about the history in Lynn is like the immigration, how, you got the Irish and then you've got the Italians and now recently you've got Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and Haitians, and you see these groups and they're becoming accustomed to America here in Lynn. I mean, like, I wouldn't think that it's not appropriate to say that Lynn could be the gateway to citizenship in America. Don't quote me on that, though. So we just compared commission versus society. Let's talk about your membership. You guys have members, right?
Yes.
All right, so what are these guys made up of? What's their responsibility? Why do they become members?
They become members because they are interested in the city of Lynn and its history. There is no specific background required other than a love of history. You don't even have to know a lot. We will teach you whatever you need to know. And we meet once a month in City Hall. But you do have to be appointed by the mayor. There are 7 voting members, and we're allowed up to 7 non-voting members. and then we can split up into different projects. If we have more than one project, then we can break into different groups. Different people can take on as head of different projects.
As a chairman, what type of person are you looking for to involve themselves in the membership?
Just somebody who wants to be there. We've had over the years, every once in a while, somebody comes in who just wants to be able to put something on a resume, and they just kind of sit there and don't do anything.
Yeah.
But if somebody is interested and actually wants to do something and talk about history and be a voting member and get involved, that's really what I want.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the more involvement, the better, the member,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
But at the same time, you guys want to entertain people who are just interested in learning a little bit more. I think it's phenomenal. Here at LynnCAM, we work with a lot of interns and the youth because we want to give them an opportunity to find their way in media. So we look for 3 qualifications in our internships and members: ready, willing, and able. Are they ready to go at a moment's notice? Are they willing to be there, and do they want to do it, and do they possess the ability? If they don't possess the ability, that's correctable. But it sounds like we're on the same lines
Very
of
much.
what we're looking for in people. So that's good. Now, you guys, we talked about your to-do list, and it's pretty long. So long we couldn't fit it in the studio. I'm embellishing a little bit, but anyway, let's talk about some of the continuous improvements, some of the things that Lynners can expect to see come out of the Lynn Historical Commission.
There's a gentleman working on Central Avenue, I believe it is. They're going to apparently gut the building and redo it, and they have approached us to discuss it. I guess they want to go for some grants or approval generally from the Historical Commission. So that's one thing that we're doing. You've
Well,
done
that
some
was
painting.
similar to downtown Lynn is thriving right now. There was
Heck
a little
yeah.
lull, but things are going on, and there's preservation going on. One in particular is the Rolfe House. Now, you might notice, in fact, our body was invited to go up in the bucket to look at the 6th level from the outside of the prototypes for the new historically researched black. They're doing $1 million+ just in windows in the Rolfe House renovation. So they took out the old plexiglass covered windows and they've put in black mullioned windows. And if you go over there, you'll see every week there's a few more put in. And we got to kind of be involved with that. They asked our approval, would this be okay? So we said, sure. A lot of other things. One of the things that inspired us to start trying to stay ahead of the curve was the Waterworks building on Walnut Street.
Yep.
That stayed closed and boarded up for many years. And you know, you can do that, but you have to check it once in a while, and unfortunately it wasn't checked enough. Once a roof gets compromised, water gets in, birds come in, it just standard natural chemistry, it starts compromising the mortar and the bricks, etc. So LHAND, the Lynn Housing and Neighborhood Development Agency, wanted to take that and rebuild it into affordable housing. And then maybe they wanted to just take some of the facade, because as they got into the tear down, it got to be more compromised. So they had to tear the whole thing down. Our commission suggested, and they took us up on the suggestion, that the 2 major buildings that replaced it, if you notice, have typical classic waterworks type of structure, the Palladian type windows, the coining, and they have that look. Plus, here's the best part. They took some eyebrows, what they call the eyebrows over each window, and the original waterworks sign that was, it's actually etched in, I guess, marble, and they laid it down as a pocket park between the 2 buildings. So if you look at that, you can stop and see that there's some artifacts taken from the structure that was there. And that's why we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, unlike the chapel. We found out there was 4 feet of water in the basement with some compromise in the drainage. So we stabilized that, and we're moving forward now trying to coordinate getting grants with the cemetery and other commissions to do the roof and maybe some private fundraising for the stained glass windows. That's one of the visions.
Yeah, you were talking about that yesterday, that project where you had gone in, it was a church, right?
No, this was the Rhodes Chapel.
Chapel, right.
Yeah.
You gone in there, and I mean, as somebody who appreciates history, it must have been kind of scary to walk in the basement and see 4 feet of water.
Well, you couldn't really walk in because the wooden steps had rotted and fallen right at the water line. But it was dank, and we rolled up some, we got rid of the pew cushions because they smelled and were moldy. And then right down the middle aisle, we rolled up the disintegrating carpet. And nice segue, Sean, underneath, and this is like a time capsule. In 1933, when they put down that carpeting, instead of padding, they used layers of newspaper. And this is one of it. Now, I had to put this in lamination because you can't pick this up. It's falling apart like sawdust. You have to lay your fingers underneath and lift it up. But this is dated 1933 from the Boston Herald, and it's got headlines about Hitler reads protest of U.S. and other timely things from 1933. So you never know when you're going to find a time capsule in a gem.
That must have been fun to look through that. I hear that Hitler guy was a jerk. So back
Learned from that.
I learned that from history. I got to say, history's always come as a natural love for me. It's always been easy for me to appreciate it. Grasping a concept of time for me is interesting. People really only live between 80 to 100 years. Maybe by the time I'm up there, we'll make 100 to be the median. But it's just, it gives you a certain sense of pride. It lets you know where you came from. Even like the history of, human migration, even the history of like the solar system. I mean, these are things that are super interesting to me. So what you guys are doing, not only is special to me, but probably special to a lot of other people who history appeals to, too. So again, I want to commend you guys. I'm not trying to blow you up too much, but at the same time, it's important to recognize the work that you're putting in. So we got about 5 minutes left in the program. I want to save this to discuss how people can get involved. We've had our viewership checking you guys out. They're interested in history. They want to know what they can do. Who do they call? Where do they go? How do they get involved?
The first thing they should do if they are interested is they should contact the mayor's office and get put on a list. And then as we have openings on our commission, which we currently have one, the mayor will appoint that individual. And then we'll contact them and give them the particulars on where and when we meet and start discussing what various things we do. So that's the easiest way to do that. If you just want to get involved on a specific project, you can call me and we will find something that interests you and give you a call. So.
Sure.
Working with the community at large is something we're finding more and more opportunities to do. One thing we did was that finally, after having all these different records of all the different historical significant sites and areas in town, we finally put it together into a comprehensive map so that you can see the color codes, and this is available online. I'm not sure exactly how to find it now, but it'll be relaunched on the city website or the Historical Commission website.
It's up on the screen now.
Yes, those colors all denote different things like historically influenced areas of the light blue, landscapes of the dark green, pathways are the blue solid lines, and those are our major roads and avenues into town, which is a segue into the commission wants to act offer a pro bono service to the citizens. If they're doing some renovations, if they want to have some brain picking on color or style when they're doing some renovations in their house. This Inspectional Services Department is really good at codes and how strong a bracket should be and wattage and lighting, but they can't really give much input into aesthetics. So we're here to offer that input. We're working now with 2 businesses right in the downtown area and putting up signage and colors and doing some things now, working on the aesthetics and the curb appeal of our city. And we offer this as a pro bono service.
I actually have a book, or actually a pamphlet that was published by Cambridge Historical Commission on historic paint colors. If you walk in to the local paint store looking for this kind of a mustard yellow, old mustard yellow kind of a color, you're not going to find it. But I can look it up in this pamphlet and it'll tell me that that color is a Dutch boy lot number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice.
So you can go in and you can, okay, I want Dutch boy lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, and you will get that color paint, even though it doesn't say yellow or mustard yellow on it. It's that color. It's 15, 20 pages long.
That makes me think of another thing. A lot of times people are afraid, oh, the Historical Commission, they're going to tell us what color to use. No, we just strongly suggest, based on history. You know, history isn't static. What we do yesterday and today becomes together the history of tomorrow. So we're just trying to offer some help in a continuum.
The city of Lynn itself has evolved over time and changed. Lynn used to include Nahant and Swampscott.
Right. Saugus, too.
Before the revolution, so, yeah, Lynn and Saugus was called Saugust.
Yeah.
The T there, yeah.
For the Indians, right? The Native Americans.
Native
that
Americans,
was the tribe
yeah.
that was there.
Yeah.
Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming down and talking to us about the Lynn Historical Commission. It sounds like you probably got a lot to do, so I don't want to keep you too long. That's probably going to be it for the program, but I just want to say, guys, thanks again. The Lynn Historical Commission, Carl Greenler, Chairman, and Calvin Anderson, Commissioner. Guys, thanks for being here. That's it for the show. From the studio here at LynnCAM TV, I'm Sean Donahue, wishing you all the best.
Thank you.